Let's talk about an organization that operates on a black budget, a real ghost in the machine of global politics. Yep, the Central Intelligence Agency. It's one of the most recognized names on the planet, but it's also one of the most misunderstood. For decades, it's been America's ultimate lever of power, shaping world events from deep in the shadows. So, how did this agency, born from the ashes of one war, become such a central player in pretty much every conflict since? Well, that's what we're here to figure out. And look, that's not just hyperbole. The CIA's history is like a hidden ledger of world-changing events. I mean, we're talking about everything from toppling governments during the Cold War to deploying predictive algorithms and drone strikes in the War on Terror. Its reputation for secrecy isn't just some spy movie trope, it's the absolute core of its power. So that's the big question, right? How did an agency that was cobbled together after World War II become the most powerful and secretive intelligence organization on Earth? It's a story that really kicks off with a totally new kind of war. Okay, so picture this. It's 1945. The world is celebrating the end of one massive war, but a new, colder conflict is already casting a long shadow. With the Soviet Red Army basically controlling half of Europe, Washington had this chilling realization. Its wartime spy agency, the OSS, was really just a team of amateurs playing against the grand masters of espionage over in Moscow. So the response had to be fast. After briefly dismantling the old spy service, President Truman saw the rising threat from Stalin's Soviet Union and knew they needed a permanent, professional intelligence agency. And just like that, in 1947, the National Security Act was signed, and boom, the Central Intelligence Agency was officially born. And right there, baked into its founding document, is the secret to its incredible power. It's this one, deliberately vague phrase, such other functions and duties. Think about that. It's basically a legal loophole that became a gateway, giving the president this powerful tool that could operate almost entirely in the shadows, far away from public or even congressional oversight. But of course, a shadow agency needs shadow money. You can't exactly put secretly overthrowing governments on a public budget line item, right? The solution was as cynical as it was brilliant. They just skimmed it from the fund that was meant to rebuild Europe. 5% of the Marshall Plan, a truly staggering amount of money back then, was secretly diverted to the CIA. This gave them an instant off-the-books war chest to start fighting the Cold War in Europe. So, armed with a vague mandate and a secret pile of cash, the CIA wades into the Cold War. But here's the thing. Its early years were a complete disaster. The Soviet KGB was a finely tuned machine, and it just consistently outplayed the rookie American agency. A whole series of humiliating failures forced the CIA to completely change its playbook. Their first attempts at using human spies on the ground were, well, they were catastrophic. Agents they parachuted into Ukraine were literally being met on the ground by the KGB, who often knew they were coming before their planes had even taken off. So the agency pivoted to America's core strength: technology. The U-2 spy plane was an absolute masterpiece of engineering. It was like a spy satellite, but with a pilot, flying so high the Soviets could only watch helplessly from below as it photographed their most secret military bases. But technology wasn't the only new tool in their kit. In 1953, the CIA perfected another one, the covert coup. In Iran, there were no spy planes, just bags of cash and a carefully orchestrated propaganda campaign. A single CIA officer, Kermit Roosevelt, masterminded the overthrow of the democratically elected Prime Minister Mossadegh, all to protect Western oil interests. It was quick, it was quiet, and it established a dangerous playbook that the agency would use again and again and again. You know, that success in Iran created this sense of invincibility inside the agency. But with that unchecked power came a whole series of disastrous operations and public scandals that would tarnish the CIA's reputation for decades. And the list of controversies is it's long. You've got the failed Bay of Pigs invasion that totally humiliated a new president, the overthrow of another democracy in Chile, the absolutely chilling mind control experiments of MKUltra, and of course, the agency's deep entanglement with the drug trade to fund its secret wars in Southeast Asia and Central America. I think President Kennedy's furious question after the Bay of Pigs disaster really says it all. When the CIA's secret operations failed, they didn't just fail quietly. They failed spectacularly, humiliating the United States on the world stage and shattering the trust between the agency and the White House. And then, in 1991, the unthinkable happened. The Soviet Union collapsed. The CIA's great adversary, the whole reason for its existence, just vanished. The agency was left completely adrift, facing a total existential crisis. I mean, what is the purpose of a spy agency when its main enemy is gone? On September 11th, 2001, that question got an answer in the most brutal way imaginable. The attacks on American soil didn't just change the world. They gave the CIA a new, absolute mission. The Cold War was a memory. The war on terror had begun. But the agency's entry into this new war started with a catastrophic intelligence failure. The whole justification for the 2003 invasion of Iraq, the absolute certainty that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction, was just plain wrong. When no weapons were found, the CIA's credibility was left in ruins. But out of the failures in Iraq and Afghanistan, a new kind of warfare started to emerge. And with it came the CIA's new signature weapon, the drone. It evolved from just a simple surveillance tool into a global assassin, capable of hunting and killing targets anywhere on Earth with lethal precision, all without risking a single American life on the ground. But you see, the drone was just the hardware. The real revolution was in the software. The modern CIA operates on a digital battlefield, where power isn't measured in spies on the ground anymore, but in petabytes of data and the algorithms that can make sense of it all. And the ultimate proof of this new power was the hunt for Osama bin Laden. The raid on his compound in Pakistan wasn't the result of a single informant tipping them off. No, it was the culmination of years of digital detective work, of weaving together countless tiny threads of data to pinpoint exactly where he was. It was a massive, massive victory for the post-9/11 CIA. So, how does this whole data-driven thing actually work? Well, a key tool is software from companies like Palantir, which was actually first funded by the CIA's own venture capital firm. Palantir's tech lets analysts fuse together billions of different data points. We're talking phone records, financial transactions, satellite imagery, you name it, into a single searchable map of a target's life. This shifts the agency's whole focus from just reacting to threats to actually predicting them before they even happen. And this brings us right up to today. The war on terror is feeding, but a new, way more complex challenge is emerging. The CIA is once again locked in a great power competition. But this time, the adversary isn't a declining empire like the Soviet Union. It's a rising technological superpower, China. A nation that isn't just a competitor, but in some areas is actually a leader in the technologies that are going to define the future of spying and warfare. Which all leads us to a final, pretty uncomfortable question. The CIA has evolved from this small group of spies into a global surveillance machine of almost unimaginable power. It can predict our movements, listen to our conversations, and eliminate threats with chilling efficiency. So, in this new age of total information, where privacy feels more and more like a luxury, the question isn't really what the CIA is capable of anymore. The question is, what are we willing to let it become? What price are we really willing to pay for security?